Gotta love Nehemiah. I am a Nehemiah stan. I think Nehemiah is one of the most underrated people who's ever lived. Talk about a guy who just gets stuff done no matter what obstacles are in his way. I think we can all learn a lot from this guy. Uh, yeah, a number of years ago now, there was this viral video out about the honey badger. I definitely wouldn't recommend you showing it to Sunday school kids. Maybe if you found the edited version. But the point of the honey badger video, there's this, creature out in Africa that the honey badger doesn't care. This thing would get bitten by poisonous snakes, attacked by any manner of creature, uh, animals much larger than the honey badger. But the point of the video is the honey badger doesn't care what you're coming at him with. The honey badger doesn't care if he gets bit by a poisonous snake. He'll just play dead, get up, and rip the snake to pieces. That kind of reminds me of Nehemiah's attitude to life. He just doesn't care. No, I don't want to say he doesn't care and that he's apathetic. It's more like, he doesn't care what you come at him with. He's coming back with that much more. Now, of course, for Nehemiah, we know why he is able to have this attitude from the very beginning. Yeah, he was looking downcast. The Lord gave him a responsibility to fix things. And from there, he didn't spend a minute moping around. When there was a problem, he asked the Lord for help. He was a man of constant prayer and a man of constant action. We think that was in the video I linked to last week. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but I think that was the point, that Nehemiah balances prayer and action. He's doing both of those things constantly, seeking God's help and also using God's wisdom, the wisdom God gave him, in order to attend to each problem as it comes up. So in today's lesson, or the lesson for this weekend, he has three different challenges that come his way. Three distinct challenges. The first problem is the threat from other nations, the challenge from outside. He has every reason to suspect an attack, that would a violent attack. And so what he does is he arranges for a defense against such an attack while keeping the work going. So on one level, this attack is so imminent, we better just put all of our resources into defense. He doesn't do that, nor does he do the opposite extreme, which says, well, whatever, come what may, we're just going to work on this wall here, and if they come after us, they come after us. He 24 hours a day has people either working on the wall and then other people standing watch and ready to fight. So he divides the two kind of tasks in front of him. He finds people to inhabit each task, and they go about their business. Really pretty simple solution when it comes down to it. But if you don't have the wisdom and the foresight to see the possibilities that could happen, you don't have the ability to delegate particular people to do particular jobs, that could have been a disaster. But he's got the defenses in place, and the work on the wall continues. The next challenge is a little more subtle and a little more tricky to deal with. Although Nehemiah in the end just is able to deal with this rather easily too when it comes down to it. And this is a challenge from within. So it's bad enough when you got armies like bearing down on you. But what if you have dissension within your own ranks? What if you have people in your own organization not getting along? It's a good thing that never happens, right? No, that's a constant challenge for a leader. You got threats from without, but you also have dissension from within. So Nehemiah looks at the situation. He sees people being treated unfairly. Boy, the project can really derail if morale gets lowered. So he says, what do we need to do to fix this? He calls a meeting. Sometimes meetings are productive, sometimes they are not. In Scripture, there's actually multiple times when meetings are productive. Book of Acts. Church meetings aren't always bad. Meetings can be a way for people to clear the air, assuming you all are clear on what the final goal is. In this case, it's to build these walls. So Nehemiah is able to kind of suss out the problem here. You have people being treated unfairly. So the solution is to call those people to account. Now, Nehemiah has the advantage of being the governor here. He has authority to do this. Sometimes people in authority don't use their authority in order to do this kind of thing, to make sure to promote fairness and harmony within a group. I don't think he would have been able to accomplish his goal if he had not had this authority, but God gives authorities authority. He gives them power for a reason, in order to promote the general welfare, to promote the good. And so Nehemiah's not thinking about himself here. He's thinking about the nation and what the nation needs. And so he takes the necessary steps in order to prevent people from being treated unfairly and restore harmony within the ranks. So we have a threat from without. Nehemiah deals with this. We have a threat from within. Nehemiah deals with this. Then we got one more threat here before the wall gets built, and that is a joint threat, without and within, ultimately targeting Nehemiah himself, and not targeting him in the way that you might think. So this guy comes to Nehemiah and says, dude, your life is in danger. It really wasn't. But that was that they wanted Nehemiah to be afraid. This is something the devil will often try to get people to be afraid. When you are afraid, you are more likely to sin. When you are afraid, you are more likely to justify sinful actions. Say, we need to do this. My existence is at stake. Our existence is at stake. We need to compromise. We need to cut corners. In this case, the compromise suggested to Nehemiah was, why don't you hide out in the holy place? Nehemiah is not a priest. It's against the law for him to go into the holy place. But yeah, your life is in danger. It'd be very easy for Nehemiah to say, this is extraordinary times. These are extraordinary measures for the good of the world, for the good of society, for the good of God's kingdom. I need to hide out in the sanctuary. Of course, Nehemiah has none of that. Nehemiah says, hey, I trust the Lord who's brought me this far. The world is a sanctuary as far as I'm concerned. If it's my time to come, I could die just as well in that sanctuary as I could out in the field. But I trust the Lord that he's seen me this far. I got a wall to build. I'm not going to break the law and go hide out in the sanctuary. The thinking, the reason they wanted him in the sanctuary, they wanted to discredit him. They wanted him to lose that authority and power he had with the people of Jerusalem. But Nehemiah, of course, is having none of it. For Nehemiah, his personal safety is important. I mean, there's a reason he posted guards a couple of chapters ago. He's not cavalier about his life and the gifts God gave to him, but he does have a higher calling and a higher purpose. And he's not going to compromise for the sake of his own personal security. So he follows the law. He continues to trust the Lord. He adheres to the code of Moses, and lo and behold, he frustrates his adversaries and his enemies. Nehemiah doesn't care. So he just keeps on going, and they eventually get this wall built. So where is Jesus in this story? Well, Nehemiah, like all heroes of the Old Testament, prefigures Christ by pointing to what Jesus will do for us. Jesus faced all kinds of threats, without, within. He had the Romans, foreign legions who were eyeing him suspiciously. He certainly had enemies from within his own people. John writes about that in the first chapter of John. He came to his own, and his own did not recognize him. But to all who did receive him, he gave the right to be children of God. So he had enemies, but yeah, Jesus didn't care, in the sense that he wasn't going to let his enemies deter him. And the appeal to personal safety. Yeah, there were a few times his disciples wanted to get out swords and start fighting. The devil himself tried to tempt Jesus to security. I'll make sure you don't have to go through anything bad. You just bow down and worship me. Just take that step and you'll be safe, you'll be good, you won't have to die on a cross. But Jesus came to die on a cross. Jesus came to build that wall for us, to give us that safety and security and precaution and help against the enemy. But it could only be done at a great cost to himself. So what does this mean for us? We thank Jesus, first of all, for being the new and greater Nehemiah, the one who takes on all challenges, who takes on all comers, who accomplishes with his authority and his strength of will what we can't do. And in light of that, we rejoice that he's built a wall around us, that he's given us safety from death, from the devil, from our sinful nature. What does this mean? Well, first of all, what does the story, the Nehemiah story, reveal to us about God's mercies? God will use his people to accomplish his purposes. He will he will inspire his people to not be afraid, but rather to do whatever it takes. To be people of action and people of prayer, to be people of prudence, but also people of courage. To be able to balance those things isn't always easy. Jesus did it for us. He also shows us how it is done. Nehemiah shows us how it is done. We seek to accomplish God's will, his ways, come what may, whatever the adversaries, whether they're coming from outside, whether the devil is building up dissension within the church, whether people are appealing to our personal vanity or our personal fears. We need not fear. We can trust that the Lord who has brought us this far is going to see us through until the completion of the project that he has given us to do. So that's what the story reveals about God and his mercy, but also what it reveals about how to live as his people, fearlessly, prudently, using all the wisdom at our disposal that he has given to us, all the authority and power that he may give to us at times in order to accomplish his purposes. Don't be afraid if any enemies come after you. Just be like that honey badger. Be like Nehemiah. Rest in the strength of Jesus and say, I don't care what you're doing. I know what the Lord is doing, and he's going to win. Amen. Best of luck. God's blessings on your lessons this week, and may he guide you as you teach our young people.